item on the agenda is to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'll take care of it.
Okay, good.
Right, join me. Right. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So next is approval of the agenda. Do we have any comments or amendments to the agenda?
Yes, I'd like to modify the agenda, or I'd like to move that we modify the agenda to add instructional calendar consideration.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, and we need to move, I need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Okay, now we have recognition of our retirees.
If we will,
Yes.
maybe it's another amendment. We have a couple of our BRVGS students who are here
Would you-
and will be recognized and need to go to a 6:30.
Well, let's shuffle it. Let's do that.
Consideration. So if you will,
No problem.
Not that no one else is important or busy this evening, but I know that a lot of times our students are involved in a lot of different activities, and we just want to be able to make sure that when we can get them here, we're able to and recognize them. So we have a program called the Blue Ridge Virginia Governor's School. It is a program that you apply for in 8th grade, you're accepted, and starting in 9th grade, you start to take the preparatory classes, and then in 11th grade, you start taking the legitimate BRVGS classes. It's a very rigorous governor's school program, and it takes a lot of commitment and time to be able to do so. And at the end, your senior year, you participate in a capstone project, and it is, I liken it to when people go through doctoral programs and they go through all these different upper level programs. It is taking what you've learned, taking a service opportunity, and how you bring them all together, and you make it applicable and interactive, and you give back through your project, and that's how you demonstrate what you've learned. And so it is, for high school students, it is a pinnacle experience, and it culminates the program. Our BRVGS students not only presented to peers and Nelson County staff, they also put on an expo among all the other students and all the other schools that participate in this program. And so it is a very rigorous program. It's a big deal, and it's one of those first things that, one, it's a research action project, but then they have to present. So all those things that a lot of times takes a lot to be able to do. So we wanted to be able to recognize those students. So the first individual who was able to make it this evening is Danica McGinn. So thank you so much. I'm going to make you a picture. So congratulations. We're going to look at the nice lady in the black dotted shirt. Dress. Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Congratulations. Okay. Our next individual who was able to make it this evening is Dakota Justice. Congratulations. What was your project on?
On the Youth Philanthropy Council.
Youth Philanthropy Council, that's great. And what was your project on? Youth involvement in rural communities. Youth involvement in rural communities. So again, both of these projects are very centered in giving back and the service, but also taking into consideration the local needs. And so we appreciate the giving back part in the community. So thank you so much for doing that. We had three other individuals who were part of the graduating class. They were not able to make it this evening, but Abigail Layton is one of our seniors, and she was a participant, and she will be graduating this year. We also have Naomi Bartley, who was a senior who completed her capstone project. And last but not least is Annalise Tabor. Annalise, we have a couple people who are involved in soccer team building activities today, so they weren't able to make it. But we just appreciate the fact that you two were able to make it, because I know you have a lot of other things going on that you got to go run off to. So we want to say congratulations for completing that capstone project and going through the Senior Expo. It's a lot, and we're very proud of you, so thank you very much. I know you guys got to go, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up was our retirees. Earlier this evening at 4:30, we were able to put on a ceremony and a celebration of our retirees for this school year. And so I will get out of the way of the monitor, but from Rockfish River, we had Martha Tinnell, who served 25 years in Nelson County. We also had Susan Viniski, who served 3 years, but a considerable amount of years in public education. Linda Ziegler, who served 23 years here in Nelson County. So collectively for Rockfish, that's about 51 years. Ty River Elementary, Diane Razil, served 26 years as school nurse. A lot of years serving and a very beloved individual. So that's 26 years here in Nelson. For Nelson Middle School, Matthew Shaner served 13 years here in Nelson in a very variety of roles and responsibilities. Nelson County High School, Christine Hutchison, she served 8 years. She actually retired towards last year, but the timing wise, we wanted to make sure that we were celebrating her as well. Scott Belcher wasn't able to make it to the ceremony because this evening is the spring band concert, so he's in the middle of making sure he puts on his the kickoff event of starting his retirement. Beverly Massey has served 17 years here in Nelson County, and Scott McGarry, who retired at the end of December, has served 26 years. And last but not least, for transportation, Cheryl Eggleston served 30 years here in Nelson County. Diane Kirby, who served 38 years. And if you didn't think you could serve longer than that, we had Mary Rogers, who served 41 years in Nelson County. So collectively, I know all of you have been doing the math, collectively that comes to 272 years of service in Nelson County. So we wanted to be able to celebrate our retirees. It's an exciting time, but it's also a time to reflect back on the impact that you had on your students. And at the end of, Ms. Irvin put it in a great way, at the end of your life, when you think back on what impact have you had, to know and have the confidence that you impacted students greatly. And one of the other things is you impacted the people that you worked with greatly. So we are very appreciative of their years of service and all that they gave to Nelson County. So we wanted to recognize our retirees.
Okay. Next we have recognition and thanks for our student representatives.
Yes, recognition and thanks for our student representatives. We have the fortunate opportunity of being able to have selected students who have kind of been willing to serve as representatives between and liaisons between the students of Nelson County Public Schools and also the school board, to be able to bring forth ideas and thoughts to us and be able to kind of be that conduit between the board, central office, and also the student body. So we want to be able to recognize the service that you have provided, and thank you for representing the students of Nelson County. So the first individual we want to recognize is junior Matthew Shannon. Take a nice little picture over here. Let's step to the right a little bit. Chop, chop. There we go. Hey, Mr. Walker, you want to get whatever? All right, cool. Thank you. All right. And next up, our senior representative is Ms. Harris. Figure this out. Oh, I'm so sorry. No, I'm sorry. I dropped that. My fault.
Okay, so after skipping one of the lines, now we have the VSBA Business Honor Roll recipient.
That's all right, we're flexible. It'll work out. All right, so every year we have an opportunity to be able to recognize 3 businesses through the VSBA and their contributions and how they give back to Nelson County Public Schools, and they call it the Business Honor Roll. So how we recognize students every quarter, well, we also at the end of the year are able to recognize businesses and organizations that have supported us. Unfortunately, not everybody was able to make it this evening, but we still want to be able to thank them. One of the first businesses that was recognized this year is Front Street Garage. So Front Street Garage, we want to say thank you so much for all of your support and how you give back to your community in Nelson County Public Schools. So I'll go ahead and clap for that. Mountain Area Realty is the second business to be honored for the VSBA 2024 Business Honor Roll for their contributions that they have made to support Nelson County Public Schools, our students, our schools, and our community at large. So thank you so much to the mountain area of Greeley. And last but not least, we do have people to be able to accept this. So we want to thank so much Torres Transport. And not only as a business do you support, you've come out and you've spoken to students in promoting career development, but also serve as a soccer coach and serve in a lot of other ways. And the emphasis is on service and not so much about what you can get out of it directly to you, but what you can put back into it. So we thank you so much for all that you do in the many capacities that you serve here. And so thank you so much. You can come on up and get this. It is a team effort. I'm going to give you this.
He's got his Nelson swag.
Yes.
Gotta represent. 25 years now.
Wow.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have the NFHS Heart of the Arts Award.
All right. So it's always great to be able to celebrate current students and all the great things that they do, but it's even better to be able to see our graduates go on and continue to give back to the community and trying to make a world a better place. And so I know earlier today, Kylie Mullins, you can go ahead and come on up. Earlier today, the VHSL, right?
Yeah.
Yes, VHSL was able to have a ceremony to celebrate Kylie, but she went on, and some of the great things that she did is the establishment of the Love Each Other Fund to help provide art education opportunities for NCPS students and all students. So we want to say thank you for continuing to give back not only to all students, but to Nelson County Public Schools, and to continue the tradition of the service and giving back. So thank you so much for doing that. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Congratulations, Kylie.
Next, we have the One Nelson Awards.
All right, so this is, the One Nelson Awards, as we've explained every time, is, as you can see, a thread and a trend throughout this evening is the concept of giving back and serving all those that you are working with and working for, and the mentality that we're all in this together. It takes everybody to be able to work together, to be able to help our students be successful, to set them on a path so they can walk the journey to whatever they want to be when they grow up and whatever they want to do. But it also includes the adults that are a part of that. So we honor students who have been nominated, we honor community members that have been honored, we honor classified employees like bus drivers, cafeteria workers, instructional assistants, and we also honor teachers or administrators and things of that nature in the certified category. And so this is always a fun part of my job, is to be able to kind of see the joy and excitement from people that recognize that they were nominated for this. They weren't just randomly selected, but they were nominated, and we get quite a few nominations to be able to select from. So it is quite a bit of an honor to be able to get this, especially when you know that it's peer-driven or community-driven. So we just want to say thank you so much for that. Oh my gosh, I'm all out of words, so I apologize for that. Okay, so I like to recognize our students first and right away. So Melody, you want to come on up? And so I'm going to go ahead and read this, and the poor thing has to stand up here and be looked at the whole time. So you also need someone taking pictures with you. So we're going to step over here so you get a clear shot. All right, not only does Melody excel academically, but she is also a friend to all. She is always polite and kind to peers and school employees alike. She deserves to be recognized for always being a model student and always being kind and a friend to everyone around her. Melody is a hardworking student that is passionate about learning new things and making new discoveries. She spends time researching and analyzing sources to prepare for projects. She's an active participant in class discussions and always supportive of her peers. She tries to encourage them to challenge themselves and to do their best on whatever they are working on. Her caring nature allows her to work well with others in a team setting. She is a joy to have for a student. So we want to honor you, Melody, as our One Nelson Award winner for May. So congratulations, and we're going to take a picture. I'm going to hold this right here. Congratulations. Oh gosh, I won that, sorry. Thank you very much. Mug, oh my gosh, in all fairness, I heard bug. And I'm like, you also get a mug. Enunciation matters. There we go. Get a mug. I'm gonna put this back in the box before I break it. There you go. Congratulations. It is May, isn't it? All right. Our next up, do we have Ms. Lawson? Was she able to make it this evening? Ms. Lawson? Okay. So Ms. Jean Lawson is a community recipient. And so Ms. Jean Lawson is a retired teacher who volunteers at Rockfish River Elementary as a fish volunteer. She volunteers in a first grade classroom at RRES and is the VPI Bright Star preschool class. She makes materials, plans her lessons, and differentiates instruction for the students with whom she is working. For many years, I've watched Ms. Lawson quietly working with students in the hallway. She's often giving them one-on-one reading time that is so important but hard to find in a full, busy classroom. It is priceless to have a volunteer with the background and skills that Ms. Lawson brings to Rockfish River Elementary. So thank you so much, Ms. Lawson. Next up is our classified employee, Kelly Taman. Was she able to make it this evening? No? Okay. So let me read to you a little bit about Kelly and why she was nominated. This is from a letter that a student who took a recent trip with one of our bus drivers wrote. I recently went on a Virginia Beach FCCLA state conference field trip on April 11th through the 14th. Kelly Taman, we just refer to her as Ms. Kelly, was our bus driver. I just wanted to tell you how amazing she is. She was the sweetest and kindest bus driver I think I have ever had. She was so helpful, respectful, and once again, really kind and caring. She was even willing to stand up for us students against some difficult situations we were having to deal with, as well as she went out of her way to show her generosity and showed us that she cares for us students. She gave us snacks when we were hungry, and she listened when we needed to express our frustration at some times. She even would laugh at our jokes. You truly have such an amazing driver working for you, and I can only hope and pray that in the future you can have more bus drivers like her. She truly was so amazing, and in my opinion, deserves a great amount of praise and appreciation. So we want to say thank you to Ms. Taman. And last but not least, our certified recipient is Mr. Ryan Wells. He is a music teacher at Tide River. He was not able to make it with us this evening. If you'll bear with me, I want to be able to read and share with you why he was nominated. Mr. Wells is a fantastic teacher and has done amazing music programs with and for the students. He has been such an asset to Nelson. Our students have loved music these past few years. He is engaging and gives students hands-on experience and makes time and fun with them. He plans and dedicates time to school-wide performances multiple times throughout the year. He spends time using tech-savvy programs, and the students are engaged with the material and always want to share when they return to the classroom. Also, this music teacher sings hello and goodbye songs to his students, saying each child's name, making them all feel special. Mr. Wells also was fantastic playing with the high school band in All-County Day this year. He's a jewel at TRES, and we love him. So congratulations to Mr. Ryan Wells.
All right. Very nice. All right, now we have comments from board members. Mr. Perkins.
Congratulations to everybody all the retirees, everybody that got an award tonight, and everybody that serves our school and our community. We really appreciate y'all. Without y'all doing the somewhat volunteer work and sometimes a little bit paid, but mostly volunteer work to help our school system keep running as efficiently as it does.
Same thing, I had an opportunity to sit in on the retiree ceremony, and to think that somebody spent 41 years of their life dedicating it to us, whether it was really even 30, 35, or 40, it's a pretty amazing thing. So it was an honor to be a part of that and to see them. So the other thing, no surprise, they're VSBA honor roll people. Eddie and Crystal, if you know anything about them, they're big members in the community that volunteer a ton of time beyond the school system. So that's an honor well deserved for you guys. We're going to miss you guys. It's been wonderful the last couple of years having you, so good luck to you all in whatever the next endeavors are for you. And congratulations to our one Nelson. Welcome back. Congratulations on your award as well. That's I'm not surprised at all. And, you know, we're getting ready to hit the budget, so we know that there's some decisions that we're probably gonna have to make. We'll continue to fight and push our board members to recognize, and not just recognize, but acknowledge and put the money behind it, the value of the work that our schools do every day, the importance of investing in our kids. So our job's not done there, and we'll continue to push for that.
Yeah, I just want to say congratulations to everyone. Certainly, we are getting ready to embark on the end of the school year, and it has been quite a year. So certainly want to thank everyone that has been involved. There has certainly been lots of challenges throughout the year, but I think we have rose above those and looking forward to an amazing graduation. So proud of the two of you, and I know one of you will be walking across that stage soon. Certainly want to thank all of our administrators for all of the tough work that you've had to do this year. Thank you for everything that you've done to get us across the finish line. So just appreciate you.
Ms. Claire?
Want to echo everything that they said. I don't want to drag it on a lot. I do want to say that the BRVGS capstone, the youth, specifically the Youth Philanthropy Council, I mean, my organization was applied for it. I haven't heard yet. I'm hoping I got the money, but that kind of involvement, that kind of support coming from the kids and being, you know, from the kids, you know, participating fully in their community is really very exciting, and you know, makes me excited for the future here. And again, you know, I mean, all of the support that everybody does, teachers, administrators, students, everybody puts us together and keeps us running, and it's exciting. Budget, I want to be sure to mention that because we are in probably the toughest year I've been doing this for quite some while, and this is a really, really, really tight situation, and you know, we're nearly $2 million down from state funding that they determined that, you know, they changed the index that they use, so we are not being funded by the state as much because they determined that the locality has the ability to pay. So, having said that, that's in a budget that's 80% human, that's going to be a big deal. Board of Supervisors meets next Tuesday, their regular meeting, and then they have the, the public hearing on June 6th, and so I would encourage everybody to go and say what they think, because this is important. So, sorry.
It's okay. Thank you. So, first of all, I want to congratulate our retirees. I'm sorry to see that much experience leaving, but overjoyed at the fact that you have the opportunity to retire. I aspire to that one day myself. Also would like to apologize. I was not able to make the ceremony this afternoon. I had a family matter to attend to, so I wasn't able to make it. But just can't say enough how much we appreciate. We've got so many long-tenured people in all positions in this county, whether they volunteer, drive a bus, work on maintenance, teachers' assistants, cafeteria, all facets, coaches. And it really is humbling to see. We're not a big county, right? We only have like 15,000 people in the county, and the school system only has 1,400 and some students. And to see what people give of their time and their money in a lot of cases, to see the betterment of these kids, and to see, you know, I think it's fantastic that we have BRVGS recognitions, and we have to hurry up and do that because they are that busy, they're that involved. And if you go through, as these kids get older, you go through the middle school and the high school, you'll find that the school's just as busy after school as it is when school's in session. And that's a testament to our community and what we do as a community to support these kids and encourage them. And some of the retirees, all the retirees do that, but you know, I think all the time about the arts and athletics and academics, you know, and how much goes into supporting all these kids. And the One Nelson recipients really appreciate everything that they have done. And also our Business Honor Roll recipients, without the community helping, I just, we wouldn't be able to do half the things that we're able to do without the community helping the way they do. And as the other board members spoke of, we are in a critical budget time. Not to get in the weeds about it, but there's a lot of factors at play. Our local composite index went way up this time. That affected our funding. There's something for some localities called hold harmless that helps alleviate some of that pain for some localities, and that has not come through yet, and that's resulted in about a $1.8 million shortfall overall. The Board of Supervisors, I'm sure, is doing what they can, but we're also doing what we can to have conversations with them to try to get more money for our budget for these kids, because a better educated population makes better citizens and less need of services and all kinds of things. And we want everybody in the school system to have the opportunity to do whatever it is that they endeavor to do. And at this time, we've had all these recognitions, and we always like to say, if you want to go, more than happy for you to go. If you want to stay, we're happy for you to stay for the less interesting parts of the meeting. But we appreciate everybody coming, but anybody that needs to go or wants to go after this is more than welcome to. So, we also have, you want to go over the important dates, or you want me to do that?
You want to give them
As Mr. Giles mentioned, we have graduation coming up.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah.
Last day for seniors is the 10th. We have graduation coming up on the 17th. So that is a very exciting time for a lot of individuals. And we just look forward and are excited for our seniors. Last day of school is coming up quickly as well. We have a division holiday coming up May 27th. Obviously, at the end of the school year, we do have some instructional planning days after Memorial Day weekend. We also, people who don't understand this, administrators work throughout the summer. So they do not get out the last day of school. Administrators work all throughout the summer, and that's actually a really busy time for administrators. One example would be the administrators retreat. So that's when professional development and learning takes place to plan for the rest of the school year. So that's coming up June 4th and June 6th. We will keep it here in Nelson County in order to continue to give back to our community. So we are so thankful that they give to us. June 13th, regular school board, so we have our school board meeting coming up. Summer learning is approaching quickly. And last but not least, Juneteenth will take place June 19th. There is a VSBA legal hot topic conference coming up on May 31st, and I will attend that.
All right, very good. So now we have comments from the superintendent.
Just want to say thank you to everybody who was able to come out this evening to support our retirees. It is a big accomplishment to be able to serve so long and to have that passion to be able to do that, but certainly understandable when you reach that point, you want to be able to take advantage of it. So we want to thank all of our retirees and the commitment they've made to Nelson County, our student staff, and the friends that they've made and the family they've made along the way. It's been the end of the school year from the last time we met, April to May. There's been a lot of appreciation days. For one, we are in the middle of Teacher Appreciation Week. I believe Tuesday was Teacher Appreciation Day, so there's been a lot of, for the last 3 weeks. We want to thank PTAs and our community for coming in and supporting our teachers and our staff with the appreciation gifts and food that they've gotten all throughout. But this is the official week. We also had Nurse Appreciation Week this week as well, with Nurse Appreciation Day, I believe it was yesterday. We also had School Lunch Hero last Friday, so we want to celebrate all of our individuals who work in school nutrition, and they serve the nutritious meals to our students, because when our students are hungry, they're not going to be able to learn. So we appreciate all of their work. Parks and Rec and our involvement when we talk about our service projects and our BRVGS, but we also have students who are serving as coaches for Parks and Rec. And giving back to the little ones, so because they recognize how important those opportunities were for them when they were growing up, and we have some students who are giving back through that. Also, we're able to recognize some of the Parks and Rec soccer players last night at the in between the girls and boys soccer games. And we also had Principals Day, so we get a little appreciation for our principals, and that was, I think, at the end of last week. They all run together after a while, especially in May. As the others have spoken, it is budget season. We have been in conversations with the county. We know that we have a shortfall coming to us through the revenues because of the impact of the shift in the local composite index, and the impact that it had was about $1.1 million before we ever started building a budget. And so from there, we recognize the needs that we have within our county that directly impacts our students, and then we also have those needs that directly impact the adults. And so that is, unfortunately, there's some decisions that we're going to have to make. We are, as we understand it, through conversations, that we may be getting an additional $610,000 from the Board of Supervisors, and we appreciate that greatly. Obviously, General Assembly comes back next week, so there's no, confirmed items coming from that, but, through our conversations, that is something we're trying to anticipate, and so trying to develop plans accordingly. And it's, all of this decision-making, we pride ourselves on developing a budget that is of the things that we will need to be successful. So it's a budget of success. And I know that at times, school systems have been very adept at dealing with things when you don't get everything, and we make it happen. And it's because we don't have the flexibility or option to not make it happen. What is it, August 8th is our first day of school? They're coming. We regardless, they're coming. And so we are put in a position where it doesn't matter, we have to be ready. And so we will do the best we can in making these decisions, and trying to keep, our eye on the main thing, and those are our kids. But in order to take care of our kids, we have to take care of our adults as well. And so that will be very important as we navigate this.
All right, now we have comments from our student representatives.
I'd like to start by thanking you all, as well as Mr. Walker, for allowing this opportunity to be a connection and a voice between the high school and the board. It's been a good year, and it's crazy how fast time goes by. With the end of the year coming up, our sports teams are entering the regional tournaments, and senior night is coming up for all the sports teams. And it's going to be sad, but it's going to be fun to play with the seniors one last time.
So tomorrow is the softball senior night, and then next Wednesday, May 15th, is, I believe, baseball and soccer for both boys and girls. So definitely come support. This weekend there's some things happening. Show choir is going to Maryland for a competition, and FFA also has a car show from 10 to 1. So it's going to be very fun, games and cars and everything. So, yeah.
Very good. Well, and thank you both. You've both done an outstanding job being the student representatives. All right. Now we are at comments from the public. Has anyone signed up to speak? No? Okay. All right. So now we're at the consent agenda. There's 3 items on it. The meeting minutes, second reading from March 14th, 2024 regular school board meeting, the registers for April 2024, and the monthly financial report for April 2024. Are there any comments or questions about those items? I'll need a motion to approve that agenda as a whole.
I move to approve the consent agenda as a whole.
And I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So next, items for information. And the first is the meeting minutes, first reading, regular school board meeting, April 11th, 2024. Meeting minutes, first reading, joint meeting, school board and board of supervisors from April the 18th, 2024. And then we are at item C, which is the revision to student wellness policy, JHCF, or the first reading. So Ms. Brodinger.
Good evening. This year, Ms. Cannell and I have worked together to spearhead our wellness committee, and through that process we've been working with team members to look at action items, celebrate what we've been doing, and also brainstorm how we can even be more active in engaging our community in embracing wellness for our students and our staff. Among that, we came across our policy for wellness, and there was a point of clarification that we wanted to ensure that was included, which is regarding fundraisers and ensuring that we don't overlap and negatively impact breakfast and lunches served in the school buildings. So really, this policy pretty much remains exactly the same. Some points have points of further elaboration, but under other school-based activities, the big change is regarding that the division will ensure that food and beverage sales during the school day by school-related groups and the use of vending machines are in compliance with state and federal law, and that there will not be food sold between 6 a.m. and the end of breakfast and from the beginning of the first lunch shift until the end of the last lunch shift. So that is the addition that we had wanted to add, and that is after research of looking at policies that other school boards have. So that is our main point in this policy revision. Additionally, we did add in that social emotional wellness of students is addressed through counseling and guidance lessons and activities with targeted interventions, as we know we are focusing on that, as well as sanitation and safety procedures complying with the requirements of the Virginia Department of Health. Those are the major changes that we have. Under implementation, we included on the previous proposed policy, it was the Director of School Nutrition, and since we've partnered together to really combine efforts, we included both Ms. Cannell and I working together to help implement the policy.
Any questions?
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I like the collaboration too.
Yes.
Well, I think you'll also notice, like, when we talk about wellness, we're moving away from just looking at the nutritional side of it, and we're looking at the bigger umbrella that it falls under. And it kind of, now in the world that we live in now, it's almost hard to think, like, why did we only think it was nutrition related before?
Right.
But just because of these experiences, and we start to recognize that we have to look at it through a much different lens and a much broader perspective to be able to recognize all the different components that go into wellness. So whether it's the nutrition-wise, which we know is huge in development, but it's also the social, emotional, mental health aspects, and that's why it's so important to be able to have the combination. And we also, the collaborative effort is also including HR as well, and instruction to make it, you know, how do we support our employees? How do we support through nutrition? How do we support through student services? So it's a much bigger collaborative effort, and I just appreciate the work that everyone in that group is doing to really kind of bring forth policies and practices that can support our students and staff, because some of this is fundraising. In a world where we have FCCLA, we just recently had a member qualify for nationals, which I think is the first time. And you know, it's not held in DC, not held in that Washington, it's held in Seattle, Washington. So that takes money to be able to get out there. And so these fundraising efforts contribute to a lot of the different things that our students and our organizations want to be able to try to do. But we also want to do it in a way that's promoting some health and wellness as well. So that's why it's important to make sure we're aligning our policies to common sense practices of what we're trying to do and align it to codes and other laws.
Very good. All right, now we have VSBA policy updates, second reading with Dr. Hester.
Yeah, so I believe in April we had some approvals of some of the second readings of the policies, and just wanted to be able to provide a little bit more time for some other policies. So if you have any questions at this time or any discussion that you want to have, we can do that. Or if you are comfortable with the updates, we will be able to move forward today.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
Okay. All right, so now we have updated information on our capital improvement plan projects with Mr. Les Campbell.
I think we should change his name to Moore.
All right, so not much has changed. We're kind of in between the projects right now, but we have some coming up in the summertime we're trying to schedule. The auditorium lighting, as we know, got postponed from the goal was spring break, but since material didn't arrive, we had to postpone that. So we're still on for June the 1st to start that project. Of course, all the larger HVAC equipment is still end of this year, expected delivery, so that's going to put us into the following 2025 school year. I do believe some of the phase 1 and phase 2 is probably going to mesh in. So we'll try to get through that as best as we can. The hot water tank and air compressors and the 4 rooftop units at the high school, they are all expected to come in this summer. I'm trying to work with Honeywell to schedule the hot water tank to be installed in July when there's fewer employees in the building. They expected to have the hot water down for about 2 weeks to get that changed out. So there's going to be some scheduling we're going to have to work around. The compressors in the gym units are all expected to come in. So hopefully we can, those won't be as intrusive as a hot water tank will. The elevator, when I wrote this the first part of the week, we were kind of at a standstill because of the wording of the contract with TK Elevator. Today, actually, around lunchtime, we finally got word that they agreed to our addendum with the wording, so that project is now starting to move forward again.
Good.
So, and then as far as CIP goes, we've been running into some issues with some of the equipment at Rockfish. As we know, it's aged. And so we had an issue with the walk-in refrigerator the last week, and that was down for about a week until they could get the parts to fix it. We've made arrangements. Chrissy done a good job of moving around products and stuff until we could get that back up and running. But the walk-in box itself was installed around 2013 along with the freezer unit, but the refrigeration unit is original. It's a 98 model. So I've asked Honeywell to provide us with some budget figures to replace the walk-in refrigerator, and probably somewhere along the lines we're going to have to talk about the HVAC equipment as well, because that's 1998 too, and we just had that unit, one of those units, shut down on us this past week, and it's kind of hard to get. It's getting harder and harder to get parts. So yeah, so probably going to have that tough discussion at some point in time. So, any questions?
The refrigerant on the older units, is that the older refrigerant?
It's
That's what I
22,
thought.
R22. Yeah.
More expensive, harder to get?
We had to purchase a jug just for the refrigerator, and that was $1,700 just for the jug.
Yeah. Okay.
All
I
right.
think I remember that refrigerator going in there.
Good have.
I mean, I think I was on the board then. That's why I was thinking that it didn't seem that long ago, but, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important part is, it's the new school.
Right, I know.
Oh, I just graduated. No, I mean, it was a little while ago. But we think, because especially if you live through it, and especially, or, any kind of the renovations, like, it just seems like it was yesterday. And funny how your mind works. It was 1998. And so some of these issues that we're
25
running
years
into is, I can tell you, I don't work the same way I did back in 1998. So I would imagine that a lot of those HVAC systems are going to work the same way either. And that's how that works. So we have to be anticipating some response.
Yeah. And to add to that is the Tower River units were replaced 10 years ago. So it's hard to believe that's how long they've been replaced in there. So, yeah.
And the new
project
school
just
was-
seemed like it just happened.
Oh, yeah, the new school was built in 2003.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, now we have textbook adoption overview with Mrs. Kim Douglas.
Hi, good evening. For our textbook adoption this year, we had to wait on several timelines before we could look at textbooks to adopt. This is a little earlier for our English adoption for elementary schools because of the Virginia Literacy Act. We had to wait for a core approved list that was put out in December of 2023 before we could get the textbooks in-house to start reviewing them. And then once we got those textbooks, we still did not have the new English standards that were approved. So we wanted to wait until we had the new English standards. So we did We didn't jump to adopt quickly. We wanted to take our time and really review and look at the alignment pieces that we could have with the Virginia English standards, on top of, what was the best for our students in our division. So in saying that, I'm bringing to you tonight 2 options that we have narrowed it down to in the hopes that in June we will have our final proposal for adoption. So I have the 2 textbooks that we've narrowed down our adoption process to. We've communicated and gone through all the channels as far as the adoption committee and the process for Virginia Department of Education. We put out for 30 days for review in our schools, the textbooks that were available and all of the ones in the adoption list. We've looked at the criteria and we've completed information through the criteria review process for all of the textbooks that were proposed, and now we're down to these 2 options. That's CKLA Amplify and HMH that we still have in our schools, and we still have available on our division website, and we still have links there, and we also have a survey to take part in, and we are going to, in the next couple of weeks, reach out additionally to other divisions who are using these textbooks. This morning alone, we just spoke to a division in the area that's using one of the textbooks to just ask some additional questions. We just want to make sure that we're making the best decision for our students. This is again for core curriculum. On top of that, we talked a lot about finances tonight. So the textbook money, what's available to us, as you can see when we're looking at this information, textbooks have become more expensive than they used to be. So we don't want to base our decision on money, but as you can see, like I said, we've almost doubled in prices since the last textbook adoption for English. And we know that in the coming years, very soon, we have a math, science, and a history adoption to go through. So, finances do play a part here. But that's the information as far as the options that we have available. The process that I've included links for on your memo with the just Virginia Literacy Act in general, that link is there. I have the Department of Education curriculum review process listed. Then I have the English textbook lists that the DOE put out, and then the textbook adoption process. And there's actually a link at the very bottom for the sample evaluation rubric that was used. So these are the 2 that we are now looking at to narrow down for the June meeting for the proposed textbook for adoption.
And I will reiterate the efforts and the attention of trying to select the best possible through VLA. You hear us refer to VLA, Virginia Literacy Act, which has a lot of requirements to it. So we've spent the last 3 months attending trainings, and part of those conversations are what are the textbook materials that have been approved, what are the supplemental materials, but also taking into account feedback that we've gotten from staff about, hey, when we go through this process, please pay attention to this, please pay attention to that. And that is meaningful, and we do look at that, and that's sometimes what slows us down, is we want to take into consideration all these different components, because it's our teachers who are going to put it into action, and it's we want to make sure we make the best decision, particularly because, amazing enough, these textbooks, they're getting more expensive, and it's just the business is unbelievable. And we want to make the best decision and not rush into it, because this was an unexpected rotation. We know that all core areas are changing their standards in the next couple of years. So we're going to be looking at the next core content, because you don't want to be using textbooks that are out of date and misaligned with SOLs or core content areas. So it takes a lot of effort to be able to do this, and a lot of attention being paid, and I appreciate it. We have posted this on website to open it up. We always want to make sure our community has an opportunity to have some say. We talk about the engagement piece, and we want to be able to have that as well.
I've listed there the rationale for each of the textbooks that we've narrowed it down to. I want to point out, when we're looking at those rationales, not only is it to meet the needs of our students and our current student population, but the science of reading as a whole and what's best suited to meet those needs with the Virginia Literacy Act. Even though these were adopted or these were approved by the state, we're still looking at the new standards. And with the new standards, skills are not taught in isolation the way they may have been years ago. So we're trying to narrow it down to the best option based on that information.
Any questions?
We don't have to vote on this until you guys have picked it.
No, not yet. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think I'm slide next as well.
So, we will continue on with 2024-2025 Title I, Part C, Education of Migratory Children with Ms. Douglas.
Okay. Tonight we're looking at that Title I Part C, Education of Migratory Children. Today I actually spoke with Laura Brown from that office in Albemarle County. And I had a very good conversation. I wanted to get more information on the total picture of the overview of their programming. They are also struggling with financial situations, so they're mentioning that their pot is a little lower than usual. But we would still like to participate because of the benefits to our students. So I wanted to show you a couple of slides here in the presentation she just shared with me a few hours ago, so I apologize for not having that in there earlier. This information on who we are, it goes through the help that it provides for students, and this is students in our school division, but it's also students that are not enrolled in high school but are under 22 years of age, so that are in that migrant program. So succeed to school and graduate with a high school diploma, that's part of the support. Pursue higher learning and advance in employment. These are actual students that have gone through the programming, not through Nelson County, but in the region. The student on the right came as a non-English speaker. He actually went through the programs, was involved in culinary arts and CTE in another division, and is now working in another state as a chef, and a very highly skilled chef, actually. So that's a success story there. This is Virginia Agriculture, where these participants work. Just giving some examples. And then the challenges that they go into with time, time with instruction, time with homework help and educational support in their home, health, access to services and knowing where to get those services. And the services they provide were the tutoring, graduation support, that preschool and school enrollment assistance, helping the families, automatic free lunch, which we offer in our division currently, and then family engagement. Again, there's English classes and ESL instructional resources, the extracurricular enrichment, and the community resources and referrals for the families and for these students. So you get a lot of help and support with the involvement of this program regionally. And this is just who was eligible. I'm not going to continue with the slide share, but I'd be happy to share that with you. This is just information, like I said, that I thought would be interesting to see because we do benefit, all our students do, from that program. Services include, again, facilitating communications, transportation even, English instruction at migrant camps, tutoring, parent training, and family literacy. So we'd like to continue our work with Albemarle Regional Programs, where that supports, and I have that application for signatures tonight to continue with the program. So in addition to that, I wanted to mention Nelson County Public Schools usually has the highest number of participants in that program in the region. So I was told today that we have 16. I didn't realize there were that many because I have 8 that have enrolled in the school division, but we have 16 because it's, remember, 22 and under other students in the program. So we have more than anyone in the surrounding area. Okay. Thank you.
So you don't have to be enrolled in the school to participate?
No, you can be not in the high school, and it's actually called an out-of-school cohort under 21.
And is that, so they live in the county?
That's my understanding, they're in
Right,
Nelson
okay,
County, correct.
Okay,
Mhm.
gotcha. Okay, very good. Any
You know, with the orchards that we have and
Mhm.
different facilities in the area and agricultural options, we have a lot of folks in this community that are involved in that, so. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we have the update on the 2024-2025 operational budget with Ms. Shannon Irvin.
Everybody else has gotten to talk about fun stuff.
Did you bring any fun stuff?
Not real fun.
No,
Doesn't
not
look
really,
too
not
fun.
really. Tammy was kind enough to print out for you guys a new operational budget synopsis. And it includes, at this point, the amount of expenditures that we requested of the county, $33,036,792. But I did include, and there's a little green box over there, $610,000 that has been indicated that may be available for the school division from the Board of Supervisors, which would leave our deficit at $1,176,209. So from that 1,176,209, I went back through all of the things that have happened since we submitted our budget to the county for consideration. And so I have prepared a possible reduced budget, and then I have an exercise for you to look at how we could possibly balance that budget if the only funds additionally that we will receive is the $610,000 from the county. So Tammy, if you can put up our exercise. So again, from our budget synopsis, our budget was at $33,036,792.15. And since we have submitted our budget, we realized that the group life insurance rate went down from the governor's projected budget to the General Assembly budget from 1.34% to 1.18%, which resulted in an ability to reduce our budget by $26,113.96. We went out for bid for a wide area network and voice over IP. When we did that, we were able to include our firewall as part of the E-ratable expenses, meaning that the federal government will pick up 90% of the cost of that service, which saves us $37,469.58. So we've garnered those savings. Blue Ridge Medical Center, we went out for bid for that, and it came in $17,274.57, less than what I had set aside. The prep budget, assuming that they're staying in the same location and that we had 3 Ivy Creek slots, we could reduce what we had in there by $13,202.87. We anticipate that to increase if they move to a different location or if we have to increase services through Ivy Creek. VACORP, our insurance proposal just came in this week. It's at $9,067.80 less than what the overall budget allowed for. The VRS rate reduction, VRS this year is breaking out the hybrid retirement contributions, that there is a base rate of 14.21%, but those folks that are in the hybrid system, the employer rate will change based on what they choose to individually elect to participate in. So if a person contributes 4% of their salary in addition, we have to match that with 2.5%. So it's a difficult number to identify exactly what that will be. Looking at our current level of participation, not knowing what our new employees will come on or if our existing employees will increase, we've reduced the rate 0.5%, meaning that we have a 0.5% leeway in terms of what we have to do and what we might have to do. So that amount would be $57,002.45. We're looking to change software. We have frontline time and attendance for employee timekeeping and for requesting leave. We found a cheaper product, but we think it will serve our needs equally as well, if not better, which will save us $5,236.39. And also, we'll be able to use our employee badges instead of the fingerprint scans to be able to log in, so we can reduce that contract. So thinking that those were almost no-brainers in terms of how we could reduce our budget because it didn't impact children and didn't negatively impact employees, I took the liberty of going ahead and reducing the budget. So if you look at the bottom, there's a budget tab and there's a possible cut tab. The reduced budget that's in that budget tab reflects a total expenditure line of $32,875,24.53. So now the hard part begins, because the $32,875,24.53 is still $1 million more than where we need to get. So Tammy, if you could scroll down towards the bottom, all the way down to the bottom. So assuming that the county does give us the $610,000, we need to get to $31,860,583. And so I have created a laundry list of awful things to do to get there, and they are not by any means a recommendation. They're items for you to be able to select among. And then I've left some blank lines at the bottom in case there are some things that you would like for me to cost out to add to that list for your consideration. So they're not in any particular order, and they're all unpleasant. I'll just start there. The first one is to not employ a new ag teacher for our high school, and that would save approximately $100,000. The 3% salary increase net the money that the state would have given us to help support that would result in $531,845. We've got 2 middle school teaching positions, and the positions that we have identified are positions only, that they are currently vacant. So they're not affecting individuals per se, currently employed with the division. 1 assistant principal position at $110,000. We have a one-time opportunity because of the continuation of ESSER until September 30th to be able to pay some salaries out of ESSER continuing on and not have them charged to the regular operational budget. That would save us approximately $70,000. That program ends September 30th, so beginning October 1, those folks would revert back to the regular budget. I had included them in the regular budget from the get-go, so that's why the savings could be there. 1 high school position at $85,000. We've got 3 custodial vacancies. We've got that at $131,250. ERIP, that number is hard to put a dollar to, and I'll tell you why. Is that the cost is approximately $300,000, but then you have to anticipate that those folks would be serving in positions that we would be paying for otherwise, and so we calculated the cost for substitutes at $83,248.68. But then you have to calculate the differential in salaries from a retired employee at the top of a scale versus a new employee potentially at the bottom of the scale. So that number could be narrower or lower depending on who is hired to replace the person who is departing. Driver's education position, again, is not required, though it is a wonderful service that we provide. The college guide program is over and above our regular guidance services. That's at $10,000. Athletic trainer in our sports medicine class, we put that at $75,000. A classified position at $75,000. Contract term changes at $37,500. Activity buses at $47,000. Lowering the employer contribution for health insurance to $35,000. The .8 FTE art position at $61,000. Preschool net of the state reimbursement for preschool programs, the local cost would be $67,250. Professional conferences and travel, $50,000. And then employee furloughs, if we chose that route, would be $90,000 per day. If you did all of those things, you'll see that the amount of the budget would be at $30,882,928. So there's $1 million more there than needs to be there. So we need to move things off of that list, or either add to it and then move things off too. So it's at the board's discretion on how you'd like to proceed, but the spreadsheet is set up so that we can move things and you can see the impact.
No.
Agreed. Agreed.
Actually, I don't really want to do this either. I think that this is a good view at, what our choices are. but I really want to kind of wait and see what they end up doing, you know, and then we can, in June, can't wait till June. Because we need to decide what we're gonna do, and we have to hire people.
Actually, we would like to ask for permission to be able to issue contracts even
Oh,
at today's
right.
salaries,
Yeah.
so that we can get them out before teachers leave.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that last.
And I think that's the tough part, you know, weighing the impact on students, all of these impact students, some of it more directly than others, okay? So we've said from the get-go that we try to make decisions in the best interest of children. But some of these impact the people who impact the children, and that's the thing that we're having to weigh. And to also understand that as we add or take things away, like, we still need to hire. And so waiting until June and all of a sudden, you know, someone hits the lottery, that's difficult because you still have to go find that person. And in this environment right now, it's very difficult. So the clearer path that we have, not the established path, but the clearer path we have, the more likely we are to find the qualified staff to put in the best situations. But with that being said, is we don't have an answer. The Board of Supervisors does not have an answer because the state doesn't have an answer. We're hearing different things. One breath, hey, we may have some good news on Monday. The next breath, it may not be this in May. So we don't know. We're in a very unique time period, budget-wise. We thought last year was unique. That may have just been the reestablishing of a norm. So I think we just have to be prepared for that. But we still have, like I mentioned, come August 8th or 9th, whatever our first day, they're coming. And we have to be ready. And we have to be prepared to be as successful as possible. We don't have an option. We have to move forward. So these are things to think about. You know, like even on that second sheet, I just kind of set it up where you can start playing around with it if you wanted to, you know, do that. But I think this is a good layout to be able to see the numbers, and where you see, you know, 2 teaching positions, it'd be easy to be like, oh, we'll just divide it by 2, and that's how we know each position. Maybe. Depends on who you put in there. If they're a new teacher, it'd be one cost. If it's a more experienced teacher, it'll be another. But it gives you a good thought process of what direction we want to go in.
It would also be interesting, and I don't know if you can do this, but to talk about the impact on kids. So, for example, and I know you don't, this is just an example, I'm not advocating for this at all, but if driver's education, if we were to pull that, you know, how many kids are affected versus, you know, what else is in there? The 2 middle school teaching positions, you know what I mean? And I don't, like I said, I don't know if you can do that, but that would be an interesting way to say, okay, well, this is a smaller impact to those kids, or maybe we could, you know, raise money or something for something where we couldn't for other things, you know, so that might be something that we could do. Also, is the county doing 3% raise or 2% raise in their budget?
At last conversation, the county did implement a 2% raise January 1, and that the intention is to, what they've factored in so far is a 3% raise for their employees.
Oh, interesting.
So they have the constitutional positions that I believe they don't have a choice with, but then the other. However, with that statement, there was what was said was, but we would have to, you know, depending on what we do, there may need to be some reconsideration of that. So that was a conversation this week with Ms. McGarry, but that is what they have in their plans, but there may be a reconsideration depending on what we can do.
Huh, I wonder if we get the extra. They go down to 2.
That was not, I did not ask that
Yeah,
question.
I bet.
Yeah.
Only I would ask that question.
And because there was no conversation, would you do 3, would you do 2, would you do 0? You know, if we can't do raises, do they drop the non-constitute?
I would like to see the difference between what we would have to do for everybody, for, you know, to get the state part in versus the 3%. So, because, you know, the minimal versus the
1.5, yeah.
other one.
Sure. And that's the you know, the puzzle of it is, oh, well, we can get it 3% for our SOQ positions.
Right.
But the LCI then gets applied, and so
Right.
it still waters everything down about what you can apply it to, and so that's the difficult part.
Shannon, just a point of clarification. You mentioned earlier where you have the new ag teacher, you've got the 1 AP, I see a red X, so those are current vacant positions.
No, I think the superintendent was making some personal notes with that. Please disregard those X's. It's not on the one that I'm seeing here, so
Okay.
all of the positions that
all
have
the positions that are here
are vacant.
current vacant positions?
Yes.
So even the 3 custodial, the one,
They're
okay,
vacant.
all of those are vacant?
Currently
them are.
vacant. Now,
Right.
it could be, you could say, I'd rather have 1, I'd rather have 2, or
Gotcha.
all 3.
Okay.
But then we just have to do the math.
And that's spread out amongst all of the schools?
3 of the 4.
3 of the 4, okay, that helps to answer that.
Yes.
Now, remind me in regards to, I see like athletic trainer, sports medicine class, I know about the class, but aren't we required to have a trainer?
I don't believe it's part of the SOQ. I don't believe
Okay.
so.
But that is one of those that we
That we would
recognize
want to
in this
have.
day and age. So what this list is also is required, like code, SOQ versus what we're not, doesn't mean we don't think we need it. I think
Oh,
anybody.
yeah, I understand that.
Definitely, yes, but it's not
I
one
mean,
of those.
because in
yeah.
my eyes, we need it all. I don't want to cut a
Yes.
thing, we
Yes,
need
okay,
everything.
yes.
But I just want to make sure I'm understanding, particularly that code in regards to the athletic trainer.
Yeah, I
I
will
don't-
double check that, but I don't
Yeah.
believe it is required by code.
Okay, thank you for doing that. I thought I had
But
one more
at sports
question.
event, there has to be some medical person at the event, is that not correct?
Yeah, I think we had relied previously on rescue squads and the like to be there.
Right.
Mhm.
Do we pay the rescue squads to be there, or they just are
I
there?
don't believe so. I don't believe so.
They wanted to charge a couple of years ago, but we haven't paid anything.
Yeah, I remember that came up.
Yeah, so when an event happens in the
Interesting.
community, they go to that.
The trainer and the sports medicine class are combined, so if you get one, you get the other, correct? There's no breaking that out?
You could, we pay 1/8 of a teaching contract for the one class that they
Okay.
do.
It can't be disconnected. It's
Mhm.
not ideal, but it can.
Okay.
Because sometimes you have athletic trainers that don't have the license to be able to do the teaching piece.
Yeah.
So how many, do we have students that are currently in the program that would not be able to continue in the program if we cut that? That's always the case, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Just like when we were considering with agriculture
Right.
and the welding.
Right.
You know, we know that welding is, we're struggling to do some things with that, but we would want to offer that last final class to be able to shore that up.
Right. And we could do that like the first semester and then we're done with it, right? No, I'm just talking about the welding portion, to
Yeah,
finish out the
that
kids
third.
that are in it. Not that I'm advocating to end the program, but I just wanted to
Yeah, that's
people
important
to
to us.
understand
Yeah.
that if your child is currently in it and is going to finish out, we will be able to finish them out. But then we won't be able to offer it to.
We wouldn't be starting
Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
level.
It's a
Yeah.
3-year program though, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not
Two.
like it,
Well, one of the things we want to offer that third year, correct, for welding? You're right, we had some kids who needed to finish it up. Yeah, we had some kids needing to finish it up, like, so they were in one, needing to finish up 2.
And, you know, with the SLQ positions and, you know, and staffing, it just depends on, you know, it doesn't knock out people that work in central office versus teachers, right? I mean, it just depends on how it plays out.
So there are some positions that are required by SOQs.
Yeah.
That, doesn't matter how many kids you have to have that position. And there's others that aren't. But, you know, and a part of those SOQ positions do occupy central office.
Right.
But I would also say that central office positions are essential because they're alleviating some of the work that would then fall on a teacher, curriculum development, HR and discipline pieces. Then all of a sudden, if you don't have positions, to have put the textbook adoption solely on the shoulders of principals and teachers, that in of itself was monumental. And we have all of our federal programs. So our central office staff works a great deal in supporting the needs of the schools and the teachers and the administrators, and also following like our federal programs. All of them were monitored this year. So that can't go through teachers, that can't go through print, that has to go through these individuals that's been what, full-time work for a month now? And data pulling and fund pulling and things like that. So they're different roles, but in many instances, SOQ positions also include central office roles.
And most central office staff are 12-month contracts, or?
Significant majority, yes. There are only a couple positions that aren't, and they're provide services and needs for when the students are here, directly tied. Yes. Yeah, administrators are, school-based administrators and central office staff are primarily 12-month employees. That's what I was saying, when all the children are out and the teachers are out,
That's when
we're coming in, yep.
Yep.
That's a big, actually the summer time is a big time for central office and administrators. That's when a lot of the planning and the support gets done for the rest of the year.
And I'll just add that the more, over the years since I've been in central office or before coming to central office, as people have left, we've assumed more roles. So there were 3 people in the office when I came to the office doing the job that I'm now doing. So, and that's all at the table, not just me. So it continues to increase the demand along with the demand from the state. So that is a concern.
And with the accreditation pieces, the data that has to be maintained and monitored is the reports. You hear Dr. Yarzabinski talk about the reports that we're turning in. Like that's critical. That goes to our accreditation. It goes to how we're calculating certain things that go into funding. So it is not a small thing. And when you're working with numbers that go and they deal with that, like you don't want someone who's not focused on that.
The NMS teaching position, so you're saying they're open at this point. What does that do to the core curriculum classes or the impact on student class?
I think we can absorb those two with relative ease. The classes will be a little larger than what they have had, but I think that's very doable.
So we do pull numbers and monitor per pupil in class section numbers, and we are very supportive of the smaller classroom sizes because we know that provides our students with the ability to get more targeted instruction and support, and we have done a good job. We do have a little bit, we have tried to include our administrators in these conversations. Obviously, the job of an administrator is to advocate for their building and for their teachers and for their students, and Mr. Baleko has done so, and Mr. Walker has done so, and Ms. Coffey and Ms. Coughlin have done so, but also understanding that there are some things that can be done with using people, but we don't have a ton of flexibility. There is some because there's a vacancy, but not to be confused with, oh, well, you should be absorbed here, here, and there. When you're working in smaller divisions, you don't have that flexibility. I can just take a section away because all of a sudden it can balloon in certain circumstances, the class sizes. It's just in this circumstance we're able to do some other things.
We're in that dip, if I remember
Right.
correctly. when
This
we
fifth
did
grade
enrollment.
is a very small group.
But again, it has long-term
Yeah.
impacts.
Sure.
So-
Yes.
Now, the other question is kind of in the same line. How many long-term subs did we use instead of teachers in certain positions this year? Do y'all have that number?
It fluctuated.
3 full-time for the most of the year. So we had a high school PE, we had a librarian, and we had a middle school science, I believe. All right.
Yep.
Mhm.
That's it, yes.
And is that part of the positions that we're looking at cutting, or is it we just need to hire for? full-time?
So the PE position, no, needs to be hired full-time.
Librarian
The
needs to be.
librarian hired full-time. I don't think, is that science position, that science position may be part of another puzzle
To the
piece.
puzzle.
But the other,
If you
yeah.
don't have a licensed teacher, that long-term sub can't teach that class again next year, right? I mean, the upcoming year.
That it's,
Code used to be that you could only be a long-term sub for 90 days, so you had to make a change at the semester break, at least.
yeah.
COVID's kind of changed some of the rules, and I think they've gone back now to the 90 days, but they did give us some leeway during that time.
But at the end of one year and the start of the next year is I think, a break in service, but I think that was something we'd have to look into.
But-
Because then they can also do it for a certain amount of time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the window going into the new year with that sub, and then how long that sub could serve, then we would have to find somebody else. It couldn't be that same person in that position.
You mentioned the ESSER positions, pulling them out August, September. Any pitfalls to that? I mean,
The only thing is that if you take advantage of that, that will be something you're going to have to make up the following year in your budget, because.
right.
Yes.
So it's pushing the can down the road for a year, but you
Where does
can.
that funding go then if it's not utilized in that way?
It will be probably for technology or non-recurring costs.
Okay.
And I think, when the ESSER and the relief funds came out, I think anytime you get grant money, the key is the one-time spending.
Right.
But at the time when those funds came out, we all needed extra help and bodies. So, most every division hired people to be able to make up, and, with the hopes that, you full transparency, these funds go away in 3 years. We'll do the best we can of absorbing it and building in the position, but you just kind of upfront say your position is tied to this. And it's out of necessity. You get the people that you needed out of necessity using those funds, and Ms. Irvin did a great job earlier, I believe it was November, where we were able to kind of identify what those positions were and then to absorb it into the budget. So we didn't have to worry about the carryover. I think we were able to do that with all but one position.
And I think that's a good point too, because when we did the 2% raise in January, we didn't have those funds budgeted. Those were funds that we took from savings from the positions that we couldn't fill with teaching positions, and we had long-term subs, and so building a budget assuming that we have real employees, that additional $450,000 added to the $675,000 that the 3% raise costs, that puts you at the $1.1 million of our budget increase, and then the composite index change, so you can really see, why we're in the situation that we're in.
And if you remember, one of the impetus for the 2% is not knowing what our budget season would be in, is to try to take care of our employees when we could.
Right.
Because I just wasn't confident that our budget season was going to be good, just by listening. And so that was what was important to us, is give it to our employees when we could, because you don't know what the future's going to hold.
So you need to know from us basically.
If the board would grant us permission to give contracts at today's salaries, with the understanding that if there were funds available that we could revisit it in the future, we could pass that on to our employees as we give them the documents so that they can obligate for the
And we've done
coming
that
year.
before.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we need to add that we need to amend the agenda probably, to add that as an item for action,
To release the
to
contract.
do that.
And then we can figure this
Which I'm in
out.
agreement with doing. I just-
Yeah.
And then we wouldn't hire any of these positions, obviously.
So, well,
Yes.
so what does that do about hiring new teachers?
It depends if it's, so we do have some vacancies that we have to fill,
That it's already planned?
yes, it is not a part of this,
Okay.
we have to fill the PE position. You can't not have
Right.
There are some positions that just we can't not have. And so there are some things that we intend, but there's others that have been earmarked for, if we absorb this position, we can move something around. So that's what we've been trying to do for the last couple months.
Mr. Martin said one time in one of the Board of Supervisors meetings that when you don't pay, I'll think of it later, he said something along the lines of, when we don't pay for something, we're asking somebody else to pay for it. When the Board of Supervisors or the school board or whether decides not to pay for, like, driver's ed, for example, what we're doing is we're going to be asking the parents to pay for it. And so in this case, if we don't hire certain positions where we need them, we're going to be asking the other teachers to be paying that price.
Well,
you know, like we were asking Ms. Davis. Douglas. That's why I don't know where Davis came from.
I will say though that driver's ed is going to be a particularly difficult position to fill because it's a part-time position, and someone with those credentials willing to work part-time may be difficult to find.
There's a pay now, pay later.
Right. That's
Whether
what
it's
his
a financial
point was.
payment
Or you pay or somebody
or a
else
service
pays.
payment.
Right.
Again,
I mean, whatever we do is not gonna just impact this upcoming school year. It's gonna be a total domino effect on down the road with not funding this year. So it's not gonna make it any easier for us coming into the budget season again next year, trying to, you know, do raises and do everything that's required of us, you know, and some of the stuff, like we had to, you know, man up and do stuff that wasn't in our budget to do when certain programs fell through, you know, that wasn't our responsibility. I've said this before, but we manned up and took responsibility for it and never once was offered, you know, to reimburse us for having.
Or even cost share.
Yeah, even, you know, we had, our superintendent is out there doing after school because we don't have the staff to cover it, and we shouldn't have to have staff to cover it because it's not a school program, it just is in our facility. So, you know, when these things happen, it's easy to look at us, our board, like, what are you gonna do about this program? But it's really not our program, it's just held in our facility.
Right.
And that's what some people need to understand. You know, yeah, we funded it to get us to where we are now, but there was no even thanks or, hey, we're gonna give you that kickback because this program dropped out, and, you know, yeah, and I can say this because, well, if they're gonna do it, then we won't have to worry about it.
Right, and we did it because it was a need that was
It was
going
a need
unfilled.
for the community.
Right, that's right.
But
Nobody
it's
would do
their
it.
program, just happened to be in our facility. So that's what the point I'm trying to make to the public is, just because it's in our facility doesn't mean we fund it. And we didn't get a kickback for it, we didn't, you know, they didn't even show up to help
But it impacted kids.
kids. So
Right.
that's why we did what we did.
That's where.
and I will say
Right.
the parents have been very
And
supportive.
parents.
Yeah.
I will, like, that's one of those situations where the parents have said, thank you so much.
Of course.
And, you know, at the end of the day, that's huge. And I am appreciative. I know recently, I think it was a couple weeks ago, a community organization has been awarded a grant with the intentions of beginning a daycare type facility. Now, that's not next year necessarily, but I just appreciate that at least there's some effort
Right.
in the community to try to help figure this out.
Right.
And so that's great. So I'm excited, like, and I want to reach out and say, what are our thoughts on this, and how can we be a part of it? How, you know, how can we help you, because we needed help,
Right.
and we know what that's like, and how can we help you, and how can this help our students in our community? So I will say, you know, I do appreciate community who does see what we're trying to do for them.
Right.
And sometimes, you know, we kind of get paid off in thank yous. However, there comes a time where that doesn't pay the bills. And so I appreciate it, and it's a much better than not, but we do have some services that we're providing that we want to partner with people, but there is a cost.
Yeah, there's a cost, and it usually comes out of money that we don't have.
So one of the things we've talked about, and Margaret mentioned this earlier, so I'm not going to steal her idea, but, you know, we've talked about this in a broader context of, you know, the county having to identify additional revenue streams beyond real estate tax. So as a school system, if we are providing services to people, for example, whether it's mechanical services, whether it's field use, and Margaret, this is your idea, do we create some revenue from that helps us fund the programs that we need to with their, and Margaret?
Well, I mean, at least relieve our own budget because, you know, I know we're community partners and that's the way I would like to do it. You know, I'd rather be a community partner and just like not even look at this. But if we've got people who are working on county vehicles and it doesn't cost them anything and it's costing us something, or maybe taking work from like somebody who's having to drive the bus and fix the county vehicle or something like that, you know what I mean? I mean, it's at some point we've got to, you know, kind of, that's the stuff I would trim first, you know, or at least quantify it and figure out how much it is, if it's worth it or not, because, or actually maybe just trim it because, or ask them to chip in for field use from the rec department, you know? They want to fund the rec department, let them do that, that's fine. Field use, facility use, bus use. I mean, who went over to Ryan's school? Who got called on Christmas night to go over to Ryan's school and pick up all those old folks and bring them over out of their house where the pipes broke to bring them to it was the school. And who showed up? It was the school. You know? So, I mean, I love that. That is what it is. That's the one Nelson spirit. That's why I get emotional. I get really mad too because it's just like, it just seems like it's one-sided and it's not like we want to do this every year. Nobody wants to do this every year. We want to plan, we want to coordinate, we want to work together, we want to get, and what's more important than the schools? You know what I mean? What is more important than the schools? I know the police are important, you know, but it's not this or that sometimes, you know what I mean? And if we do our planning correctly, if we do it with a view of we're all in this together, you know, all of the kids, all of the people that work for us, they all matter. And we are the community, you know? What's the most important event of the year in Nelson County? The most attended? High school graduation.
Yep. And all of the departments in the county are important, but the only one that has an impact on young people at the beginning of their lives is us. Everybody else is important, they're extremely important, but they're all coming to a need that is down the road, right?
I mean, in their formative years, you know, when they get to high school and in middle school, trying to figure out, what am I gonna do? You know, even though they think they know it all, but they still go through this thought process of, what am I gonna do? And you got that teacher that sometimes, that one teacher, or that one person in that building, custodian or whoever, that helps them make that decision, you know. So, you know, every position is important. You know, you have supervisors, that's why the supervisors get paid more than the people that work under them, because they're paid for their experience or education, or whatever, however it works out. You know, everybody at some point will have the opportunity, or you didn't take the opportunity to get to the point where you qualify for these positions to apply for them, so you can't complain about what somebody else makes. Your paycheck is your paycheck, you know, so we can't just not consider everybody when we're giving out raises, because at some point you're going to have a teacher making more than a principal, and that just doesn't go over well. And I mean, even if you run your own business, you can't pay somebody more than you're bringing in to pay your bills. That doesn't make sense. So, you know, we're sitting here talking about people, little people, and everybody in between. And, you know, and they're just telling us to figure it out.
And we'll be fine.
Yeah, you know, but when you don't have kids in the system, it doesn't apply to you as hard.
It does, though. It really does.
It does, because it becomes a community.
Yes.
It is a community issue, and if you're not teaching them, you're incarcerating them
Right.
later, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it really does have a long-term effect on everybody.
Yes.
And it really, I mean, what is it, when you're moving somewhere, even if you don't have kids, you look to see what people say about the school system.
Yeah,
When
that
you're-
rating is important to
Yeah.
people moving into the county,
Yes, yes.
even though it's not
And people
housing
are
and jobs.
proud of their schools, and they're proud of our schools. And I think mostly people are really, really supportive of it. But in the end, at every budget year, it's just this scrabbly fight that, you know, the schools are, like and let me put this out there too. There's nothing that we did, or nothing that anybody did really that put us in this position. It was the LCI index, of the majority of that, right, was put us in this $1 million hole. And they don't usually do that to us. We probably should have seen it coming, but we didn't, really, or I didn't, you know. Because when the property values went up 30%, we should have seen it coming. And if our taxes don't go up, you know, to cover that, we're gonna have a difference there. And we just have to think cooperatively, we're gonna think together about how to support the schools. And I think advocacy sometimes is seen as, you know, aggressive, and usually mine is, but I have to admit, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, and you should go out and talk to your elected representative and tell them all, you know, whether you live here or whether you don't live here, that, you know, this is important and it's important. And when you say, you know what they ought to do, think about yourself as being they, because you is they.
Well, we just had a joint meeting with the other board, and very appreciative of the comments that they had on what we had to say and what we were offering. But our message for a long time has been that we want to be part of long-term planning so that we can have a plan for how to fund the schools, so that we can continue to make them better and offer the kids more opportunities and be able to pay the people that work in the school system wages that allow them to work here and live here and to grow. Because, you know, retention is a huge deal. Hiring and retention is a huge deal. But as we said during the joint meeting, the needs are not getting any less. Now, if you look at our budget, save for a couple of items that we had absolutely no control over, the budget's just about completely flat from last year. So we're only asking for increases on what we don't have any control over. Now, maybe a miracle will happen and the legislature will come through and say, you know, the whole harmless money or the LCI, whatever. I don't hold out hope for all of that kind of stuff because they didn't do it the first go around, right? So it is frustrating. I wouldn't want to be in the Board of Supervisors' shoes either, because that's a lot of tough decisions to make, but we've got tough decisions to make too. And, you know, and what is it you always say, our problems are more important because they're our problems, right? You know, so I hope they'll come through with some more, but I want us to continue to work on this long-term planning, because the county is a great place to come and visit, and we have lots of people come and visit the sites that we have and take advantage of the hospitality. But we need to figure out how to educate the kids that are here, you know, and it takes money to do that. It takes teachers, it takes dedicated human beings to teach the other little human beings and to be role models for them, to give them a good path.
And they are the most vulnerable segment of our community.
Yes, without a doubt.
So we're just taking money from the babies.
And for me, and you know, there is some scuttlebutt out there that there may be some agreements that have been made. So I don't know what they are. It's just saying that they may be good, they may be positive, but I think our problems are more important because they're our problems, and I will say that every time.
Yeah.
But in tough times, sometimes it becomes a lot easier to have wedges driven between groups, between people, whether it's internally or externally. And I think it's important that we want to be able, this One Nelson thing isn't just for us. This is for everybody. And to keep our eye on the bigger picture of how do we as a community build and get better and what's our part in that, and what's in everybody, and not allow like tough times to drive wedges, whether it's between employees or employee groups or between the adults, between the kids, or between us and between the community. Like staying focused and not allowing that to drive it, because we still have to live with each other and we still have to work with each other and we still need to work. And so keep, staying, how do we solve problems? And rather than having a conversation about why I need my group's more important than your group, all of our groups are more important. So how do we broaden that? Instead of making my slice smaller to make your slice bigger, how do we make the pie bigger and everybody's getting what they need to be successful? And so I feel like I don't want to take away from the sheriff's office. I don't want them to take away from me. I don't want to take away from other community services that are important to everybody else. There's a reason why they need it. And so keep an eye on the ball and not getting distracted by the things that sometimes happen in tough times. And so trying to make sure that we do that, because we've got two of them sitting over there and we have parents sitting out here that like, this is what we do. If without you guys, we're not here. And we need to set you on the stage for you to be as successful as possible. And that moms know that when you're going out, you're equipped. And that's what we're doing. And that's, unfortunately, these are tough times and we have to make decisions, but we have to make sure that we're building for a future where we don't have these tough times as much. And that, not pulling from the groups that make us strong, we're building within. And I think that's just something that's important to keep an eye on and not to let the derision take place.
And well said, because all of that has to do with planning. And we talk about planning, we talk about coming together as both units and figuring out how we can look at the bigger picture. But inevitably, we always end up here. And we always end up looking at the same things that matter to everyone, students, parents, community members. It's the same thing. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at the driver's ed program that we finally got put back in. And how many conversations have we had about this?
Right.
I mean, there's absolutely nothing on this list that is not a budget of need. We need it all. And we have not put forth anything that we don't need. And to be honest, there's a whole lot in here that should be in here that we do need.
Yes.
But we were thoughtful about what those needs are. And I think I mean, there's nothing I'm going to eliminate off this list. I think it is advocacy. I think it is talking to the Board of Supervisors, and it is demanding the budget of need that is needed for our community and for our students.
And encourage questions. Like, if
Oh,
someone has a
of
question,
course.
and we get it,
course.
like, hey, what does this mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or help me understand why this is important.
Yeah.
We encourage that
Yeah.
all the time. I would rather be answering questions and have a spirited debate about why I think something's important than nothing, and then assumptions get made, because
That's right.
we all know what happens when you assume something.
Correct.
So I think we just want to encourage the dialogue, and we talked about that, whether it's between us and Board of Supervisors or us in the community. I have a family community advisory, and that's one of the things, like help me, tell me the good, the bad, the ugly, and how do we work together to figure this out, and not shy away from those conversations.
Looking at this, when I first came on this board, it looked like a jigsaw puzzle with a million pieces missing, because I didn't know what any of it meant. But you learn how important these numbers are going as I've grown in this board. But I know as people out in the community have no idea what these numbers mean. And, ask questions. If you don't know, please ask. Because we're not hiding anything. They're all right there. If you need it tomorrow, you can get it. So, it's not that we are trying to slip anything in or do any, whatever you want to call it, backdoor stuff or whatever. It's all right here, and it's all needed.
And a lot of the stuff too is required by law. I mean, stuff that's already packed in
Yes.
there, this, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, you know,
So-
the ESOL teachers not.
Right, right, exactly. I mean, it's not like we
Yeah,
have.
there's some things that, like-
You know, the law would say you have to have the X number of teachers for every 100 students, and we have 103 students, so, you know, we're over the line, so we gotta have another, you know, you can't hire like a foot of a student, you know, just put it on the table
Right.
and that, you're done.
Point one.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't have .1 teacher.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you could, but it would be hard.
So, is there any more comment? There's a couple of housekeeping things. One question I have is, this is for us to kind of take home and tinker with ourselves. Do we need to have a discussion about maybe setting a tentative second meeting in May so that we can be available to act on it, or do we feel like waiting until June is
We might
okay?
have to have a call meeting in June
Yeah.
after their meeting.
Because they're having, I am pretty darn sure their
Well-
meeting is on the 6th for the public hearing. And so that's probably setting them up to vote on their budget on the 2nd.
Our meeting's on the 13th.
And,
I think they're on the 11th.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're-
so the 4th through the
So
11th.
there's
for
two
public
Board of
hearing.
Supervisors, one, the next Tuesday, and most of it happens at 2, which I know, well, you guys aren't working then, right? So,
What? Yes, we are.
no, I know, I'm just kidding. You work all the time.
So, yeah. So
And
if they're
then the
having
other
a-
one was at the 6th, so then their other meeting is in June, that's when they'll vote on it.
Yeah, their meeting they vote on it'll be the 11th, so,
Right.
We'll have to be approved by the end of June, so we're either gonna have to be ready on the 13th to marathon it and figure it out, or we're gonna have to come in on the 27th, or sometime around then, and finalize everything.
Let's try to marathon it on the 13th.
I'm
Yeah,
fine with
let's
that.
do it.
And then if we can't, then we know we've got enough
Yeah.
time to.
Right.
A second meeting in May won't do us any good, because they won't be done
No,
doing what
no,
they're
no,
doing
no,
now.
different.
It won't
Yeah,
change
yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
But you need to
We
have
need to
the
approve
blessing to
contracts.
say, go ahead and
And
release
issue
the
contracts.
Right, we can do
Yeah.
that. We can do that today if
Any
you need
developments
it.
from maybe perhaps in the General Assembly that might be able to guide
Yes.
some things, or there's conversations to have.
I don't think it is weaponizing our community if our parents, our students, our staff feel compelled to go speak at that hearing.
No, they
Or just-
wanted to hear, they asked for people to come and tell them what they
to
thought.
share.
I mean,
For sure.
public hearing is hearing from the public, so I think they're asking for it. I think they want to hear it. I think they want to know what everybody thinks, so everybody should go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a hot time, I mean, I think sometimes we hear, well, why are people here now? Well, it's budget time.
Right.
Everybody's busy, and so you show up
Right.
when you need to.
Right.
And I think that it doesn't matter what side you're on, that's how that happens. And so it's just making sure that we are able to express ourselves, to be able to, whether it's a community member, it's a parent, it's a staff member, it's whoever. I think, that's the beauty of the democratic process and the beauty of the way it's designed. That's our responsibility as citizens and residents to be able to advocate for what we think is best for where we live.
And you don't have to go to
work.
meetings either. You can send an email, you
Yeah,
can give them
yeah.
a phone
There's-
call.
there's many
I mean,
platforms.
there's other ways of communicating other than
And I would encourage
charging
people,
in.
if they're going to the meetings or to the public hearing to speak, like Mr. Perkins said, if you want information, all the information's on our website. If people want to get additional information, or they can call our office to,
Even if something like LCI.
Right,
I mean, that's a tough concept to get your head wrapped around.
it is.
Even if you've been working for it or work with it for a little while, like we'll answer those to the best of our ability. We'll answer those questions, and it's just it's in being informed.
Thank you.
One year you're gonna stand up there and be like, it's easy, it's easy.
Okay, so we've got one more item for information. When we begin items for action, I will ask for an amendment to that section.
I'll do that. I got
And
it.
Margaret said she'd do it, so.
I don't have to, but I can.
There are two motions to
We're just, huh?
amend the agenda and then you need to add it as an item to motion.
And then we have to add it to
No, if we have
the,
to do that, can
to
we
the
just do it as
personnel
one
action.
thing? I mean, we're gonna amend to add an item, we're gonna amend it to add it, we can just do it in one swoop. Seems very
yeah, because we've already
efficient to
approved
do
the
it.
agenda, so.
Go ahead.
So I have the fun part. I get to show you how we spend our money.
We should do this
And
first.
I I get to celebrate some things. So,
Yay.
administration, it's budget time, and that is primarily where a lot of our attention is spent. As we've just heard, it takes time to be able to develop these options and to be able to figure out how do we address our budget. But meanwhile, we're also going through all of our federal and state monitoring programs, which takes a huge collaborative effort. Things like Title II, Title IV, we've had 1s and 3s and all our favorite alphabets and numbers that we like to include in that. Also been working through various contracts with different groups like Red Rover, trying to figure out how are we as fiscally responsible as we can to be able to cut down on some contracts that we have, and that's the great part about going through this process. And thank you to VACORP for coming back, and we have some cost savings that can come from that. And I appreciate Ms. Irvin and her group working through all those different options. Instruction, it's April, May, as we include in this, and there's a lot going on. A lot of the instructional federal programs that are being monitored, but we also continue to have, at the last joint meeting, we were able to share that, hey, Head Start is starting back up again. So at both of our elementary schools, we're able to work through the CDI, which is an organizing group taking over for Head Start. So that started back up. We've also, as we recognize in the middle picture, BRVGS had their capstone projects. We are in full swing with SOLs. And so hopefully all that hard work all year long, we see that pay off through this. CTE, Auto 3 students, you see on the upper right, all of these students earned their state inspection certification. So when we take a look at like applicable skills and employable skills, these are the types of things that we are really wanting to highlight. Summer learning begins soon. We had some wonderful SOL pep rallies and parades that took place to really kind of get the kids and confident. You know, even at these young ages, they feel that stress and that pressure, and they get nervous. And just looking at them saying, do you believe in your teachers? Do you believe in yourself? And getting them to feel confident as they head into those tests. So I just appreciate all the work that's going in. There's a lot to go through this. Also, our agriculture program was nominated and was selected as a Region 5 winner, the 2024 Creating Excellence in Secondary Exemplary Program. So congratulations to the high school and agriculture program, Dr. Yarzik-Bensky, everybody who worked together to apply for this and win it, and really highlight the great things that are taking place. Human Resources and Communications. We had a wonderful Golden Governor's Banquet that took place, I believe, last week, where top 10% of our graduating seniors are honored, but also they select a mentor who impacted them. So as I've tried to tell them as much as possible, is this is a great event for you, but that person you nominated as your mentor, that's going to last a lifetime for them. Also, a lot of effort was being put into the ceremony today to celebrate our retirees. So a great deal coming from our HR department to be able to celebrate our children and our adults, the true human resources that we have. We do know that coming down the pike are some changes to Title IX. We're really not in a place right now to be able to delve deep into that until there's a little bit more information on it, but we will go, like I said, I'll attend the law conference to get a little bit more information, which I believe they plan on discussing it, but there's a long time between now and August 1st to be able to see how some of these changes will shake out, but they are pretty significant changes that we'll see. Pupil personnel, really fun times during the spring to be able to celebrate our SPED students and participating in the Tournament of Champions that took place. They go to Louisa. They had skill activities to be able to participate in. They had races. They had kind of a small animal farm to be able to interact and learn more about that. And it was just a great experience. And Louisa did a fantastic job putting it on, but our kids had a phenomenal experience. Ms. Reudinger took them, and some of them were pooped at the end of it. They were dead asleep on the bus ride back, and that, you know, sometimes that's a great sign that they really kind of experienced it all. We also had Family Fun Fitness Night on the 18th, where again focused on our special needs students, but also families, and being able to, how do we create an environment that provides supports for their needs, but also is a fun, family-oriented experience. So you see there, we had some yoga with some of the little ones participating in it, and the big ones, and the families coming out. And then also Special Education Advisory Committee. We've talked about trying to get our community and our families engaged, and we have to offer those opportunities to be engaged. And so through Special Education Advisory Committee, SEAC, that's one of the ways we can get community and family members in on providing their communications on that. Technology, we've had a collaborative effort. There's been a lot of feedback like, hey, we need a better way to present things in our auditorium. So maintenance department collaborating with the technology department to install a long throw projector in the auditorium. So if you've been in there in the last week or so, there's something mounted that allows it to shoot down to a screen that's on the stage that has good quality visibility of it. So that was important to be able to do. Mobile Chromebook charging carts. We're in the age of 1-to-1 and also classroom sets at the elementary, but you got to charge them, you got to keep them safe. We want to try to cut down on repairs and breakage, so trying to work through and doing things like that. Another part of that is the education piece, and so having Chrome Camp, being able to design presentations to teach students, this is how this works and this is what you need to do. Like, it's like the care and feeding of your laptop. Like, how do you keep it safe and how do you keep it going? We also continue with trying to renew contracts and working with various companies. Excuse me. Maintenance, as Les was able to go through some of our CIP, that's kind of our long-range projects, except for the auditorium lights starting June 1, but also prepping for graduation. It takes a lot of people to get that done, so the maintenance crew is relied upon heavily to be able to get everything ready. Also, while maintaining things that we use on a daily basis, like our gym and the lighting, being able to work. A big thank you to Troy Nipper and Frankie Brewster for coming out to remove the bees. We had a bee issue. These things never happen with plenty of time to respond. It always happens seemingly right at the end of the day when we're about to send hundreds of kids out to buses. So we appreciate the collaboration between transportation and maintenance to be able to take care of our bees and everything else that they're taking care of. And we were able to do so safely. Transportation, Mr. Ashley likes to joke around a lot. We got kids to the school and we got them back home. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but it does take up a lot of time. And so we also had one of our drivers, Ms. Bell, pass her CDL and is now a licensed bus driver, and she has started her new route. Les and Taylor also worked together to be able to, with a local beekeeper, to safely remove it. So that is truly a collaborative effort. As you see on the right picture, like right where that hive was right where our kids are coming out to get to the buses. Food and nutrition, in addition to developing a lot of the wellness policies and collaborating, it was school lunch hero recognition. So we were able to kind of go around and get the appreciation given to our cafeteria workers, because without them, what I appreciate about them so much is they don't just come in and do their daily jobs. They get dressed up. Like, they are into the theme days, and they live it and imbibe it, and they have fantastic relationships with kids. And so that really is heartwarming to see that people take their jobs at any level so seriously, because they know the impact that they have on kids, and I appreciate that so much. And during April and May, we had breakfasts, over 10,000 breakfast meals served, lunch over almost 17,000, and supper meals. So all the different instructional intervention things that we have after school, those get calculated into the supper meals. And then for community engagements, I wanted to recognize our FCCLA qualifying for nationals, and that's a community thing because we have a lot of our community support through that, and they're going to go out and represent us, and so that was really great. Some of the cheering, I mean, if you take a look at the bottom left picture, the enthusiasm of our students to be able to cheer on each other, James Bender there, it couldn't be happier. I mean, it's so good to be able to see the unbridled joy that our students have for each other. We talk about the SOL pep rallies and parades, and everybody gets involved in that. You see the pictures of our SRO and our nurse, stressed out about creating signs to cheer on our students and wanting it to be cool and wanting it to be like, I want to make this a connection to me. And they were excited. I mean, they were first in line to try to celebrate the kids, and I appreciate that. We had the Golden Governors. We had Senior Awards Assembly. During the day, we had other student award assemblies. We recognized Parks and Rec soccer last night, and it was so fun to see all the little ones and how excited they were. But to see our high school kids, they made a little tunnel to slap hands, and they were as giddy as the little ones were, and that's really cool. Unfortunately, tonight we're missing the spring band concert, but earlier in the week we had the choir concert, and it's just 15,000 people in a county, 1,480 kids in a school division, 480-ish kids in a high school, and the talent level that we have, whether it's drama, singing, band, athletes, it's amazing. It blows me away to think in such a small populated area that the amount of talent that we have, that's talent in our kids, but it's also the talent in the adults that draw out of them. So I appreciate that so much. We also had the FFA banquets that bring in a lot of our community members and our supports. And so as you can tell how well attended a lot of these things are, that's a community, that's engagement, that's bringing everybody in to support our kids. So I get the fun part of being able to celebrate all the things that we do and how we spend the money because we're turning it into something special and we're turning it into something successful, and everybody deserves to be able to see that. And we also are working on building where we can and becoming better and doing everything that we can. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Want to just introduce this, or you want me to do
What's
it?
that?
So I'd like to, if you'll allow me to make a motion to amend the agenda to add an item for action for approval for contracts or to.
2 items, right?
No, we'd already added that one, so I just wanted to remind you that
Oh,
we
okay.
added that
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
So
okay.
this one is, the motion I just made was to
Authorize
give,
them.
authorization for them to submit contracts or send out contracts at the current level.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so the items for action has been amended to include, actually, the closed session needs to be last, so it would be a new item E, calendar, what did that say?
It's F, actually, calendar consideration.
Consideration, and then F would be approval
No,
for
that's
contract.
G, right?
This has to be last.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and
If
then
we
item
do
G
it.
would be motion to go into closed session. So, that's all right.
Got my letters mixed up.
All right, so now we are at items for action. The first item we have is approval of the VSBA policy updates, February 2024, the second reading. Any discussion about this? Okay, I need a motion to approve.
I move that we approve the February 2024 VSBA policy updates.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Second item is a field trip request to FCCLA going to the National Leadership Conference.
I'll move to make a motion to approve the FCCLA officers and advisors to travel to Seattle, Washington for the national conference.
I second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Next item is approval of the 2024-2025 Title I, Part C, Education of Migratory Children.
I move that we accept the, I don't even know how you say that.
Title I, Part C.
We approve it.
Education.
I move that we approve the 24-25 Title I, Part C, Education of Migratory Children.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next item is surplus items for, to approve for sale. And there's a list embedded in here.
I move that we approve the surplus items for sale, and I just want to note that I added up all of the mileage, and it was $1,547,143, which for 7 vehicles is $221,000
It's a lot.
per vehicle. Just
Just
thought it
second.
was.
They're all good at them.
Just off we go.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion in the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't know who's gonna buy it.
Okay, so, did we have any discussion on this calendar?
We have not had any discussion on that. We were just
Consideration.
asked to do a
Consideration of establishing Thursday, March 23rd is the last day of school.
Correct. Okay, so we will need a motion to approve the superintendent to consider altering the calendar for the last day of school.
I move that we approve, give the superintendent permission to alter the calendar for the last day.
I second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then we will now need a motion to approve the superintendent to issue contracts on current salary levels.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Closed session.
I believe it's just for personnel issues. Does anybody have any feeling
Is it
that
just
they
that
need to
one
go
item?
to?
I mean, the one section?
Do you want to go into closed session about it?
I don't feel like there's anything on my end that I would need to share on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll skip that. We don't need to go into closed session. I see you there.
I'm not doing anything.
Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to need a motion to approve the personnel action report.
I move that we approve the personnel action report as presented.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
So approved. Are there any other matters that need to be brought before the board? Hearing none, I will need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make that motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion, meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.